This may be a strange thing to say, but I've always wondered what's in the rubbish bins at Old Parliament House.
So we're in the Prime Minister's suite. It's an area of our building that we've recreated for the period mid-1980s to 1988. And that was a time when Bob Hawke was Prime Minister. And this office was used by steno secretaries, that's secretaries who can do shorthand as well as typing, an office manager, a cabinet secretary, and also a telephone receptionist.
So that's a lot of people, and they would have thrown lots of stuff out.
Absolutely.
So we're about to see the contents of a 1980s rubbish bin.
Let's do it.
Can't wait.
Shall I unpack it?
Please.
Fantastic. Okay, here we go.
So these are magazines of the era?
Yes, these are original magazines of the era.
So one of your jobs, Kate, is to source this?
Yes, for my job. The other part of my title is Chief Vintage Shopper.
You've also shopped for a whole bunch of other things here, including a soft drink can.
This is actually a can that was found in the building. So sometimes when we're working throughout this building, up in the ceiling spaces, maybe down in the really crawl spaces below the floors, we will occasionally find things that have been left by workers. And this wonderful Cotty's Tango can is an example of a heritage find. So this is actually a cartridge that goes into an IBM Selectric, or people may refer to them as golf ball typewriters. So you would put this in and then you would use that, that's your ink that you would transfer onto paper when you were typing.
What's this?
Yeah, no, this is a really interesting piece. So this is a piece of carbon paper. So carbon paper was used by typists on manual, electric and electronic typewriters to produce a copy of what they were typing in real time. And when we send an email nowadays and we call it CCing, it's actually from the old-fashioned term carbon copy.
So we've got lots of things here. How do you decide ultimately what to put into a bin?
So it depends on where the bin is located. So we are in a room that was used by secretaries, a receptionist, an office manager. So for me, that would imply what I'm putting in the bin from the types of documents. So things like services and amenities available to senators and members, information about how to do post at the time, a map of the floor of the chamber along with who sits where, and as I said, carbon paper. So all these are associated with a normal day-to-day activity for them. Anne-Marie, we're in the country party room and it's actually now March 1970, so we've left the 1980s behind.
Oh, this is an earlier era.
Much
very
earlier
different era. But we're still here to talk about rubbish bins.
We are,
and there's
absolutely.
one at our feet waiting for us.
So this rubbish bin is really interesting because it was designed by John Smith Murdoch and his team. John Smith Murdoch was the architect of this building, and interestingly they both, as a team, designed the building, but also designed a bespoke set of furniture and designed all the way down to the rubbish bins.
Why did it matter that the rubbish bins had to be consistent with the rest of the design?
I suppose if you've got the opportunity with a building that was as important to Australia and Australian democracy as this building, then no detail was overlooked. So if you're going to make the effort to put together a set of bespoke furniture, then in fact you could say that the rubbish bins are furniture too. The party room was used for party meetings. It was also used for reading newspapers, picking up your post, and so the contents of the bin sort of reflects the different aspects of the room.
The room captures those formal activities, but also the informal activities like the pinboard and
absolutely,
the things that get discarded. So we have a newspaper.
So we have a discarded newspaper. We have an old walkabout magazine from 1969. I've just got a little brochure that maybe one of the members of the country party, we would now know them as the National Party, has on cotton growing in the Namoy Valley. I've also got some discarded copies of The Week at Canberra, which was written by Winton Turnbull, who was the whip at this time. He would do a summary of what had happened in Canberra for his constituents, And he also took an opportunity to pop them up on the notice board, or at least I've decided to use his material on the notice board. And if we look inside the bin here, you can actually see where people have stubbed out their cigarettes and left small burn marks inside. And there's also evidence of ash in the bin as well. So it's a kind of interesting for us nowadays to think of a historic object like that being treated that way, but we need to remember that these were just ordinary bins just in a functioning parliament. It's not like the people who worked here thought, one day this will be a museum, this will be a heritage site.
Kate, we're in a different world now. Feels very different from where we've been. What's going on? Where are we?
Yeah, well, we've come down in the building. We're actually underneath the House of Representatives chamber. And so we're in an area that we refer to as the Parliamentary Broadcasting and ABC Studio. So in 1946, the Australian government commissioned the ABC to start to broadcast parliamentary proceedings from both chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And this is the area where they started to do that.
What sort of people would have chucked things in the bin before we start?
The people who were working here were the parliamentary broadcasting staff, very technical people who were recording the proceedings from the chambers and then relaying them to Sydney. In here as well, though, were members of the television crew. So that would be the camera operator, the video editor and the sound technician. So we've got some Canberra Timeses,
Yes.
along with the fabulous Sunday comics. We have Electronics Australia magazine. I also have a facsimile of a Go Lotto entry, and this is actually from David Kieran. David Kieran was the video editor here, and so he had some old Lotto tickets and he loaned one to me so I could scan it and photocopy it.
That's adorable. He must have thought you're a bit strange. Please may I borrow your old Lotto ticket?
I think people are absolutely charmed by things like that.
Yes. We've learnt a lot, Kate, today about how you do this work, but why do you go into such trouble to make things period authentic? Why does it matter? And what do the rubbish bins add to the environment of these rooms?
Well, historic room recreations are just one way of interpreting a historic building. But we find that actually laying out the work areas as they were, or as close as we can get to how they appeared, helps visitors almost feel the era within their body. I could just put in bins and I could just put them in empty, but what's the fun in that?